in my point of view, when you're starting a new job, there are a lot of things that you should do before starting your process simulation. First recommendation to you when you're starting a new job, and here I'm talking about jobs in a design company or in a production company with a design department. Get familiar with internal standards and procedures. When we start a new job in a medium to a big company, normally all the procedures and the standards to that company or the internal standards and procedures are already available. And that is very good for us because we can understand how to proceed, how to develop the plan design without avoiding asking too much to the senior people how we should address to solve a determined problem. For instance, it's very common to have already the criteria for fluid flow or for the pressure drop and all the criteria to select the pipe material to a determined fluid. For instance, I worked for many years in the air separation industry, and we get the piping specification. I know that if I will use liquid nitrogen, I should choose the stainless steel material because it is the best material to work with low pressure, low temperatures. So when you look for the standards, you will know what are the criteria that the company uses. And another thing that is very important, of course, is to understand the industrial process that you are working on. If you are in a production plant, you have only one industrial process, for instance, polypropylene. I started my career in polypropylene, in a polypropylene revamping, and I needed to learn how is the utilities, how the impurities that impact the process, and how to deal with the shutdowns and with the alarms and etc. And every time that you change from a process to another, you must understand that before thinking about any kind of process simulation. First, you need to study the new process, and you can do that using books. You can get familiar with that watching some YouTube videos also. But it's very important to get familiar or read books and read papers, because although your process already exists, in the books you will see what are the standards, the standards for the design, or what is consolidated in terms of technologies. And when you look for papers, you will get in touch with new upgrades and how to improve the process. And I recommend you also to subscribe magazines that is related to your field of work. For instance, if you work with petrochemicals or oil and gas industry, I recommend you to take a look to the hydrocarbon processing magazine. It is free. I think that the online version is free, and you can just go to the website, his website, and look for the subscription. But there are many others magazines available out there, and in the magazines and of course that is a technical magazine, so you have papers, you have advertisement. And although you don't think advertisement is very important, because when you need to install something new in your process, you already know how which supplier is available and how to contact them, and with that you can save time. And because time is one thing very important when you are talking about plan design. it's very important that you get familiar with your industrial process. And to do that, you have many options. One option is book, and you can look for papers, and you can look for magazines. And of course, you can review these on videos on YouTube. And now talking about the plant design and itself, if you are in a industrial, if you are in a design company, probably you have a lot of previous design already done. And if you have that, take this time to review the old projects based on the standards and internal procedures. For instance, your company already built a nitrogen plant, so now you already are familiar with the internal standards and procedure, and you can match if what is said in the industrial standards and procedures really was done in the previous project. And that is very, very important to you get familiar, and you know, already know which kind of solution is done to that kind of process. And if you are in an industrial plant, usually you don't have the other projects available, but you have the documentation from your plant. And depending on how old is your plant, and depending on the documentation management of your company, sometimes you don't have more the heating material balance of the plant, or you have an updated version of the process flow diagram, and your pipe instrumentation diagram is not up to date. And you need to be aware of that in order to upgrade or to update all the documentations, because the most important documents for us chemical processes engineers are the heating material balance, because based on that you know what to expect from your plant, what's going in, what's going out. You need to have the process flow diagram, because it gives us the whole overview of the plant in terms of equipment and process conditions. And we need to be very, very familiar with the pipe instrumentation diagram, because any kind of changes that you suggest in the process, it must be marked in the pipe instrumentation diagram, and it needs to reflect what we have in the field. And for instance, if you need to isolate one equipment for maintenance, and in many times or in sometimes the people from the maintenance will need your support, and you say that valve B and valve A must be closed, you must make sure that exist those valves in the field. And once you get familiar with internal standards and procedure, and once you understand your industrial process, once you review existing and other projects, it's time to not reinvent the wheel. You will face problems to be solved, and most of the problems is solved with the previous experiences. And that's why it's very important, and that's why the senior people is very important in your industry. But if you did what I'm telling you right now, you already have a lot of baggage, or you have accumulated a lot of knowledge, because the solutions is usually very similar one to another. And if you already know that one material that for nitrogen you need stainless steel, you will not waste time or spend more time than needed to look for new materials to use in your project and something like that. So that is my point to you. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Be familiar with the existing solution that already have. And of course, sometimes will happen the situations that you are not familiar yet, but if you are in touch with magazines and if you are in touch with papers, the chances that you already have seen or already have heard thinking something related to your process is very, very high. And one thing that is very important when you are when we are talking about plant design is to learn from operation personnel. If you are in an industrial plant, it is easier because you are in touch with them every day and you can understand which kind of difficulties or which kind of challenges they face every day, and you can see if you do a slope in or if you do a low point in a pipeline, you see in the operations what is the result, and that is not too easy to understand when we are in a design company, only in a design company. Sometimes we do a site survey, and that means that for an existing plant, our company is hired or is contracted to do revamping, add new components to the plant, and a small group goes to the field in order to evaluate what's happening, if the pipe instrumentation is really updated and stuff like that. And that is the moment that you need to use to talk to the operation personnel and try to clarify as many questions that as you have. And just to give you an example of what is done in the pipe instrumentation diagram and what can be a mess in the field is, I worked in a CO2 liquefaction project, and we have a huge liquid CO2 storage, and it was a horizontal vessel, and we need to add isolation valve in the bottom of this vessel, and it was supported and 2 meters high support, and in the PNID the valve was added just after or downstream the nozzle of the vessel, but it was a sphere type valve, and when the pipe designer did the design of this valve, I had a vertical line and I had a horizontal line, pipeline. And the best location to add the ball valve is the horizon, because we don't have the gravity weight in the valve. We have only the pressure push, but in the horizontal pressure is much less stronger than the gravity under the isolation valve. And what happened was that during the commissioning startup of the plant, we started the production, we starting filling liquid to this storage vessel, and when it tried to open the isolation valve, it was stuck because there were too much weight above the valve. And this is a kind of issue that when you go to the field and you talk to operations, or when you participate in the problems, you get that to your life, and you in the next time that you do a pipe instrumentation diagram, you will add a note to not install the valve in the vertical position, for instance. And if we are only in the design department, that kind of situation don't return to us, and that's why in many companies we have the lessons learned. That is a way to try to share with everyone what kind of issues was found during the commissioning, in the startup, in the production of the plant, in order to avoid this kind of situation. So my tip for you is learn from the operation personnel, and it doesn't matter how old they are, it doesn't matter how, if they have a degree or not, or if they have a lot of study or not. What matters is that they have very experience from the operations, and they have a lot of to share with you. And when you are in a company, it is very, very important to you identify the lacks and opportunities related to your activities and to your job. And I will give you some examples. The first example was I started in a polypropylene plant. We were doing a revamp design, and usually the chemical process engineer, when we need to add something to the pipe instrumentation diagram, we do head markups. And there are intelligent pipe instrumentation diagram, but depending on the size of your company, you don't have that. And these markups goes to a AutoCAD designer, and he or she will fix that and return to you for comments and for approval. And I identified in my company that the CAD designer was with a lot of work because of the revamping. So instead of waiting for the returning of the drawings, I decided to do AutoCAD training. So I learned how to do the updates of my own pipe instrumentation diagram in AutoCAD, and that was very good because now the company and my boss know that I was able to do that, and my employability increases when I am able to do more things than other people are not able to do. So in this sense, I believe that you should not be really restricted to only your activities. If you identify that there is something around you that you can learn to improve your productivity, I really recommend you to do that. Another thing is related to the process safety. We chemical process engineers are really related, our activities related to process safety, and in many companies there is no hazard leader, or there is not a person specialized in hazard identification. Or even though exists, it is a good opportunity to you do some kind of training, get some kind of certification in this area, because in the event of these people is left the company, you can be considered to that, or you can contribute more to the activities. And to do all of this, of course, we need to expend a lot of energy. And when we start a new job, it is very important, and that is very, very important that you show that you are 150% committed to your new job. And I know that the job laws depend from country to country, but when you are starting a new job is the time that people is evaluating you more. They want to know if they can trust you. They want to know if you are the one that always complain about things. They want to know if you have a task to be done, if you will do that on time. And when I start a new job, it's very common that I arrived earlier than it is combined, and if needed, I expend more hours in the office that is combined also, because people must identify on you in the beginning that they can trust you. And once the pass goes on, 3 months later, 6 months later, it is normal to you get to you be more near or near to the average people that are in your company. And but not at this time, the persons already built a figure of you. They already know if they already identified you, if you are lazy or not, or if you are committed or not, or if you are the guy that always complain or not. And that is my tip to you, to give 150%, because when you are hired, you will not it's not part or to get familiar with internal standards and procedure. You need to get some time to that, or save some time to that. And most often you will not do that during your period of work, because you were hired to solve problem. And to understand the industrial process, you need to get more knowledge, and most often you will need to do that after your hours of work. And if you are not motivated in the beginning, you will not be motivated in the middle, and of course you will not be motivated in the end of your journey in the company. So that's my tip to you. Yeah, people underestimate this. It's very, very important to you observe people and make friends. And you must observe it, because although I recommend you to do as many friends as possible in your work, people are different, and before doing friendship, you must evaluate how is the behavior of each person that works with you. And you don't want to get embarrassed, and you don't want to deal with the wrong people. What I mean, in my point of view, you shouldn't do anything that can prejudice someone. But you must be alert about people that are able to do that. And if you are able to identify which are the people that can do anything to get a promotion, you are able to build defenses, and most important, you are able to try to make that person a friend of you, and with that avoid this kind of situation. It's there is a book very, very popular here in the West, that is How to Influence People and Make Friends, from Daniel Carnegie, if I'm not wrong. And I strongly recommend you to do that, because what is important about this last topic is that you are in the company today, and you don't know if you will be in the company tomorrow. And in many cases, who will suggest or recommend you to another position is a colleague of you. And in the engineering company, it is very, very small. And these days, I was talking with a friend of my friend Luis Carlos, and we were talking about the jobs and something like that. And I said to him that I worked in Braskem in Rio de Janeiro, and he said, "Oh, I also worked there. And do you know these people?" "Yes, we know these people." So you need to build your personal brand, in order that anyone or most of people are able to recommend you as a dedicated person, as a hard worker, and etc. Your first job is the most difficult to get, because you don't most often you don't have experience, and you don't know people that can recommend you to get a position. But it's possible to get a job even though you are a fresh engineer. And to do that, what I recommend to you is add to your curriculum things that are related to the position that you want to. And for instance, if you want to work with R&D, research and development, there is a set of skills that address only to R&D people, and usually they need to have a master, they need to have PhD and something like that, MATLAB and advanced and etc. On the other hand, if you want to work with plan design, there is another set of skills that are needed. For instance, you need to know how to read and develop pipe instrumentation diagram. You need to know how to do process simulation. If you have some kind of knowledge in project management, it's desirable because you have another set of rules, activities to be done that is totally different from the R&D people. But and once we increase the numbers of people that are available in the market, the companies get more and more exigent. So if I have someone that already know everything that I want to, of course that I will prefer if I compare to some people that doesn't know anything. And what is the hard part when we finish the graduation is that we don't know which field we want to work to, and that's normal. And we apply to all kind of job position, but that is not efficient. What I recommend you is, I want to work with plan design, get familiar with subjects that is related to plan design, put that to your curriculum, and in my point of view, do at least one post in the LinkedIn, because who is seen is known, and it increases your chance to get a job. And of course, once you study the subjects related to that, if you go to an interview, it is easier to you to perform a good interview if you are already familiar with the subjects that will be asked for you. And how do you know the subjects or the requisites that are asked in a job position? There are many ways to do that, and one way is to go to the company website and evaluate the positions that is available there, and look for the description. And if you do that with 5 companies in the same field of work, like plan design, you will have a better understanding what they want from the employees. We finished this part of the presentation. If you want to know more about chemical process engineering plan design, I invite you to visit my website, jeffersoncosta.com. So guys, this is it. I hope you like it, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.